She's right there. She's been touching your arm all night, laughing at things that honestly weren't even that funny, leaning in just a little closer than she needs to, close enough that you can smell her perfume. And you're sitting there thinking, is she into me, or is she just being nice? So you hesitate. You replay every moment in your head. You analyze every word she said, every smile, every glance. And instead of acting, you wait. You play it safe. You tell yourself, maybe I'm reading too much into this. And then what happens? You go home alone. And the next day, you see her with another guy. A guy who didn't overthink it. A guy who didn't sit there trying to decode every signal. A guy who simply recognized what was happening and moved forward. If that's ever happened to you, and let's be honest, it has happened to a lot of men, it's not because she wasn't interested. It's because you froze. You didn't lack opportunity. You lacked clarity. You couldn't tell the difference between a woman being friendly and a woman being genuinely attracted to you. And that confusion, it creates hesitation. And hesitation kills momentum. Now, if you've been out of the dating scene for a while, maybe you were in a long-term relationship, maybe life got busy, maybe you just haven't been in these situations for years, it can feel overwhelming. Like trying to read signals in a language you don't fully understand anymore. But here's the truth most people don't tell you. The signals haven't changed. Human behavior hasn't changed. Attraction hasn't changed. Women are still communicating interest the same way they always have, just not always with words. And if you know what to look for, it becomes incredibly clear. Because while yes, some women are naturally friendly, social, and expressive with everyone, that's not the same as genuine attraction. There are deeper patterns, consistent signals, things that show intent, not just personality. And today, I'm going to break down exactly how to recognize them. But before we get into the signals, there's one rule you need to lock in. You never act based on just one sign. One signal means nothing. Two might still be coincidence, but when you start seeing multiple signals stacking together in the same interaction, that's when you know it's real. That's when it's no longer random. That's when it's intentional. Signal 1. Understand her baseline. This is the foundation, and almost nobody does this correctly. Most men see a woman smiling, laughing, touching their arm, and immediately assume, she must be into me. But they never stop to ask the most important question. Is she like this with everyone? So before you interpret anything, observe. Take a step back and watch. Watch how she interacts with her friends. Watch how she behaves with other men. Watch how she carries herself in general. Is she naturally energetic? Does she laugh easily? Is she physically expressive with everyone? Because if that's her baseline, and she's treating you exactly the same way, then what you're seeing is not attraction, it's just her personality. But if something shifts when she's with you, that's where it gets interesting. If she becomes more focused, more attentive, more physically engaged, if her energy changes, if her attention narrows in on you while everything else fades into the background, that's not random. That's selective attention. And selective attention is one of the clearest signs of interest. Because people naturally invest more energy into what they're drawn to, they don't even realize they're doing it. But it shows. Always. Signal 2. She invests in the interaction. Attraction isn't passive. It shows up as effort. If she's just being polite, you'll feel it. Short answers, minimal engagement, no real curiosity. But when she's interested, everything changes. She becomes involved. She asks questions. She responds with energy. She builds on what you say instead of just replying. And most importantly, she stays. Even when she has the option to leave. Even when her friends are calling her back. Even when there are other people around. She chooses to remain in your space. And that choice is powerful. Because attention is currency. And when someone invests their attention in you consistently, it's never meaningless. Now pay attention to how the conversation evolves, because attraction often shifts conversations into more personal territory. She might start asking, "What do you usually do on weekends? Do you live nearby? What are you doing later?" These questions may seem casual on the surface, but they're not random. They're exploratory. She's trying to understand your lifestyle, your availability, your world, and sometimes whether she fits into it. And here's something even more important. If she's the one steering the conversation forward, that's a major signal, because most people don't invest that kind of effort unless they're genuinely interested. Signal 3. The body speaks first. Now let's talk about nonverbal communication, because this is where things become undeniable. Words can be controlled. People can filter what they say. But the body reveals what the mind tries to hide. When someone feels genuine attraction, their body naturally aligns toward the person they're drawn to. You might notice their body is angled toward you. Their feet are pointed in your direction. Their eye contact becomes stronger and more consistent. Their expressions become more animated. They may mirror your movements without realizing it. If you lean in, they lean in. If you slow down, they match your pace. This is called mirroring, and it's a subconscious sign of connection. But here's the key. It's not about any single action. It's about the pattern, the consistency, the overall energy shift. When someone is attracted to you, they become more present, more aware, more engaged with you specifically, and less distracted by everything else around them. It's like their attention locks onto you, and once you notice it, you can't unsee it. Signal 4. Closing the distance. This is where things become very clear, because physical proximity doesn't lie. When someone is comfortable and interested, they naturally move closer. They don't think about it. They don't plan it. It just happens. They sit closer than necessary. They stand within your space. They lean in during conversation. And they stay there. Not briefly, but consistently. And here's what you need to understand. People don't maintain close proximity with someone they're not comfortable with. And they definitely don't do it repeatedly. So when someone continues to close the distance and keep it closed, that's a strong signal, because comfort leads to proximity, and proximity often leads to connection. The biggest mistake men make. Now here's where most men go wrong. They see these signals. They feel something is there, but instead of trusting it, they doubt it. They second guess. They overanalyze. They wait for absolute certainty. And by the time they're ready to act, the moment is gone. Because attraction is time sensitive. It exists in the moment. And if you don't respond to it, it fades. Not because you did something wrong, but because you didn't do anything at all. And in that silence, the other person starts to question your interest. They start to pull back. They start to disengage. And eventually, they move on. Putting it all together. So let's simplify everything. You're not looking for perfection. You're not looking for a guaranteed signal. You're looking for patterns. When you see focused, selective attention, consistent effort and engagement, strong nonverbal alignment, reduced physical distance. That's not coincidence. That's interest. And when you recognize it, your job isn't to overthink it. Your job is to respond. Naturally, confidently, without forcing anything. Because confidence isn't about being aggressive. It's about being aware and willing to act. Final thought. The difference between the guy who goes home alone and the guy who creates opportunities isn't luck. It's awareness. It's understanding what's happening in real time and trusting yourself enough to move forward. So the next time you find yourself in that situation, don't sit there questioning everything. Don't talk yourself out of it. Observe, recognize the signals, trust the moment, and act accordingly. Because more often than not, the opportunity was already there. You just needed to see it. That's it for today. If this gave you clarity, make sure you subscribe, because we're going deeper into confidence, communication, and real-world attraction skills that most people never learn. I'll see you in the next one.